Hello, everybody. Boy, did I have an object lesson for Mr. Jim Polito this morning. It was actually a whole lot of fun. We talked about Yemeni terrorists. That doesn't sound like much fun. They have snuck across the border. Terrorists on the terror watch list. At least we apprehended these guys. Do a Google search, and you're getting crickets. So I explained why. I explained how they are obviously suppressing it. The right search engines to use out there. We spent the whole time talking about just that. So here we go with Mr. Polito.
Tomorrow is National Beer Day in the United States. It's not a Canadian holiday. See, it goes back to April 7th, 1933, where President Roosevelt, in turning over prohibition, said people could make and brew their own beer as long as it wasn't more than 4% alcohol. How about some of those microbrews out there, Danny, like 10.2%? There's one from the Trappists that's like 10.2%.
I think it's high as 15 now, yeah.
It's crazy. Anyway, speaking of beer, which is the national beverage of Canada, we are joined now by our good friend, Tech Talk guru, Craig Peterson. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. Canada had prohibition, too.
Oh, they did? I didn't know that.
Yeah, a few times. They had these municipal bans in the late 19th century, provincial bans in the early 20th, and national from 1918 to 1920.
Wow, I learned something. Well, listen,
and the last time I was in Belgium, I love those Trappist beers.
Yeah, those Trappist beers are great. The problem is they're made under strict rules, and there has to be Trappist monks working in the process, and there aren't enough Trappist monks to produce the beer for the demand. It's a great beer. I just want you to know that every July 1st, I do have a Molson on Canada Day.
All right.
I want you to know.
Labatts is acceptable. But,
Labatts. I used to like Moosehead was a good beer, too. Moosehead was a good beer.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's get to this. We're joined now by Craig Peterson, and all kidding aside, Craig Peterson, our Tech Talk guru, helped us earlier in the show. We're going to talk about Facebook and the hacking of personal data, but let's get to something that just came up. I'm talking on the show about two Yemenis who are on the terror watch list. It's not getting a lot of attention. They walked across the border. They entered the country illegally, and they're on a terror watch list. One of them had a SIM card hidden in his shoe. Some AP reported on it, but you try to find this story through Google and actually social media, it's not there. Craig, could you please explain to me why it's not there?
Well, it's very simple. If you do a Google search and there's no real results, it's obviously fake news.
News. The folks from ICE, Danny's having trouble getting the actual document that was the release. The folks from the Border Patrol said Monday, 2 men who were on the U.S. government watch list for terrorism and also on the no-fly list. They walked across the border. They're Yemeni men. And we all know what's going on in Yemen right now.
Yeah, it's a real problem. And again, all kidding aside on my part, there is a huge problem that almost no one is aware of in this country. That is, we are now living under an oligarchy. We don't really have any form of democracy anymore. This isn't a republic. This is an oligarchy that is funded by the tech giants. You might call them tyrants, frankly. We complain about Russian oligarchs. Yet we are allowing companies like Google to not only have all kinds of lobbyists in Washington, D.C., making sure that their favorite politicians become millionaires, but they are covering for them. If you do Google search this morning on these Yemeni men to try and find out more, almost nothing comes back. There are some good search engines, and I talk about these all of the time, but the one that I think right now is one of the best, and it's the one that I use for everything except for technical searches. If I'm doing a search on how to do this in programming or whatever, I might use Google for that.
Okay.
But if there might be any sort of a slight political bent to it, I use DuckDuckGo.
Yeah.
As you saw this morning, there's a huge difference in the results.
Just, Danny, you've encouraged me to use DuckDuckGo, and just like my doctor has encouraged me to lose weight, and you're both good experts and have my best interests in mind, it doesn't become a priority. I'm telling you after this morning, I won't be losing any weight, but I will be using DuckGo from now on in a lot of my show prep because I really think it was an accident that I found this story. I do intense show prep. I'm everywhere. I found this story, and again, I don't know, maybe Fox is running with it today, and maybe it'll get a little traction. I don't know. But that these two guys crossed the border. This is exactly what we were talking about. Exactly.
Yeah, and the influence that Google is having on elections is astounding. I should pull up this article here, but I'm not going to Google it. I'm going to go it. Who looked at voting in Orange County, California. Now, Orange County has always been known as a conservative bastion, the only one other than Northern California in the state of California. So he had a close look at what was going on, and the way he looked at it is he spent some time on searches as though they're coming from Orange County. So he was using a VPN to do that stuff. He was searching on Google, and he found a huge manipulation going on, I think is the word he used, where 90 to 95% of all the results favored the Democrat, no matter what you were searching for when it came to the issues in the election. It was absolutely amazing. We've also seen Project Veritas, which, of course, everybody's heard of before.
Yeah.
They had an this was October last year, I think it was. They exposed the Google's election influence, where a senior Google executive, his name's Ashwin Agarwal, said there are many ways to influence elections. I think ads is one way. Another is search results. YouTube is going to be another one. He said, this is a quote from him via Project Veritas, the truth is the deep platform is influencing you in a way you didn't sign up for, okay?
Wow.
It's absolutely insane that we're allowing these oligarchs to run our lives. And you were talking earlier today about what's happening with baseball and the major league and where we're going to play. Georgia's evil. We're seeing people now reading a headline, and the headline can be absolutely false. Joe Biden's actually getting Pinocchios now from the Washington Post.
Yeah, he said you weren't going to be able to vote after 5 o'clock. Lie. You couldn't get water in line. Lie. You just can't get water in line from a political party, candidate, or a movement. Okay?
Yeah.
You can get water in line from anybody else. Okay? There wasn't going to be voting on Saturdays. Lie. 2 Saturdays are mandated. Lie.
Yeah.
It just, everybody's, not a big deal.
Yeah, they retweeted. They talked about it. They saw the headline, what Joe Biden said. We know that the falsehood repeated enough times all of a sudden becomes truth.
It came from the Nazis. It literally came from the Nazis. It was Goebbels and Hitler. Repeat the lie enough, and it becomes the truth.
And the bigger the lie, I don't even want to get into it right now.
Because you never want to drag the Nazi card in. This is appropriate. That's the Nazi card.
Yeah.
That is the Nazi card.
You mention Hitler, and you lose.
I try not to. Other than the Seinfeld episode with the soup Nazi, I try not to. I try not to do that.
We are being governed by oligarchs, because we're using Facebook, we're using Google, we're using some of these platforms that we're getting our news from, quote unquote, that we're getting our information about the election, about what's happening with our government. In fact, we're being manipulated in a very big way.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm with DuckDuckGo. That's it. You know what? We can get to the Facebook stuff some other time. I know your recommendation is going to be to people, hey, by the way, you should be changing your password for Facebook and making it a difficult one and using one of those great password management systems.
What really upsets me about that, just real quick, Jim, is They exposed over 500 million people's personal information, including phone numbers, everything. Here's Facebook's response to it. When they were asked, you gave away names, phone numbers, email, home addresses. Well, what's going on here? It was all stolen from you. The response was, yeah, that's old news. That happened in 2019. Are you kidding me? That's where the fraud comes from. That's where our information is sitting out there. We've got the fishers out there who are trying to get at the information.
Yeah.
We're not keeping our privacy straight, which is why I've got this course started this week on improving your Windows privacy and security. We have to take control of this. How many people, do you know, Jim, how many people, the Equifax hack, right? Hundreds of millions of people's information was exposed.
Yeah.
We've got this huge Facebook hack. How many people are serving federal prison sentences of 10 years or more?
I'm just checking here.
Exactly.
Nobody.
Exactly. You cannot get a new Social Security number. They won't give you one. You're not going to move. You bought this house. You're going to be there for a decade or more. Your address isn't going to change. We are in so much trouble, and the government just doesn't care. They're not doing enforcement on this stuff. People are not going to prison. Companies are looking at it as a risk analysis. We've talked about this before. It's just crazy what's going on. And Facebook's response should be enough for everybody to just cancel their accounts.
Well, that's Mark Zuckerberg. Craig, this is great. Tell us quickly about how folks can be part of and participate in this great program that you're doing.
All right. Just go to CraigPeterson.com/subscribe. You'll get my weekly newsletter. You'll get all the show notes that I sent Jim that we didn't talk much about today. My whole radio show, which, of course, airs here as well on Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
Make sure you listen all weekend. I'll let you know about this course on improving your Windows privacy and security. It's for home users. It's for beginners up to intermediate. I'm trying to help out the people that really aren't techies.
All right. Sounds great. Craig, no, listen, this is why you're invaluable, because you can come together with us and show us. Today was a perfect example of that, and that's why we really appreciate your time. So, sir, you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too, Jim. Bye-bye.